In 2024, on our way back home from our month-long camping trip to Ohio and Michigan, we stopped in western Pennsylvania for 3 nights so we could explore 2 state parks and 2 rail trails. We started our ride on the 29-mile-long Panhandle Trail at its easternmost trailhead. The old Walker's Mill Station is about 10 miles west of Pittsburgh. The wide crushed limestone trail steadily climbs as it makes its way west to Weirton, West Virginia. There was a lot to like about this trail. Shortly after starting our ride, we passed by an old quarry that had been converted to a small park with a pavilion and picnic tables. There was also a tall metal windmill sculpture, one of several sculptures made of recycled materials scattered along the trail. We also passed several porta potties and bathroom facilities as well as some park benches scattered all along the route. The Panhandle Trail was formerly known as the Panhandle Railroad, which once connected Pittsburgh to Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis. The rail line was discontinued in 1991 and transformed into a rail trail connecting the Pittsburgh suburbs with West Virginia. The trail is part of the 3,700-mile-long Great American Rail Trail, which aims to one day seamlessly connect Washington, D.C. with the state of Washington. The Panhandle Trail is also part of the Industrial Heartlands Trails Coalition's 1,500-mile trail network through the states of New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. There were several road crossings along the section of trail we rode on, however we never had to wait long before safely crossing. The trail was well maintained. We did have to navigate around a few wet spots from the recent rain, and there was a small limb lying on one section of the trail, but we were easily able to go past it. The trail passes through many small communities where trail users can find places to stop for food and drinks. We quickly learned that the Panhandle Trail is a much-loved and much-used community trail. We frequently passed people walking or running on the trail, as well as other bikers enjoying a ride. But we never felt like the trail was overly crowded. The trail turned to paved asphalt when we crossed over into Washington County, making the ride smoother. However, we did encounter some bumpy sections where tree roots were pushing the asphalt up from below. As we rolled into the town of McDonald, we passed through a replica of the Wilson Mill covered bridge. There were signs along the trail directing trail users to nearby a visitor center and other establishments in the town. MA's ice cream shop immediately caught our eye, and we agreed we needed to check it out on our return trip through the area. McDonald was one of the larger towns we passed through on the trail. An oil boom struck the area in the late 1800s. Coal is still mined in the area. At 8 miles we passed beneath a 1913 railroad trestle. The trestle carries the Montour Trail over the Panhandle Trail and Robinson Run. Just a little further past the bridge is the mile-long connector trail that would take us to the path over the bridge. We planned to go that way later so we could ride across the bridge before heading back to where we began the Panhandle Trail. This is where the Panhandle Trail connects to the Montour Trail. After riding for about 10.5 miles we reached the town of Midway. Although we'd only completed a third of the trail's distance, the town was the railroad's halfway point between Pittsburgh and Steubenville, Ohio. We turned around here and headed back east on the trail. On our way back we took the connector trail to the Montour Trail. This portion of the two trails once served as a mile-long transfer track where coal could be interchanged between the Montour Railroad and the Panhandle Railroad. Today, the transfer route serves as the connection between the two rail trails. We passed beneath another section of the trestle bridge carrying the Montour Trail overhead. Then we began a steady climb up to the level of the bridge. The 61.5-mile-long Montour Trail follows most of the former Montour Railroad's main line west and south of Pittsburgh. Despite the line's small size, it became very profitable thanks to the many coal mines once located along its main line. Unfortunately, the coal mines eventually closed, and the railroad was forced to shut down during the mid-1980s. The Montour Trail forms a semicircle around Greater Pittsburgh, and helps to form one of the longest suburban rail trails in the United States. The trail features bridges, trestles, viaducts, and tunnels as it makes its way through the western Pennsylvania countryside. As you can see, the trail surface is primarily crushed limestone, with small sections of paved trail. Here we're crossing over the McDonald Viaduct. At 962 feet long, it was the longest bridge on the Montour Railroad. Ahead you can see the trestle bridge that crosses over the Panhandle Trail below. This would be as far as we would ride on the Montour Trail. We'll have to return at some point in the future to ride more of it and see what else it has to offer. Here you can see the Panhandle Trail below. After enjoying the view, we had to head back down to the lower trail for the ride back to our truck. On the way back we passed by a sign for a trail to some fossil cliffs. It said that this site is a popular place for rock hounds looking for fossilized fern leaves. We made one last stop to take a look at a flower garden sculpture. We had a great time riding the Panhandle and Montour trails. We rode for a total of just over 25 miles in a span of 2¾ hours, including stops along the way. We hope to return someday so we can complete both of these great trails. If you enjoy rail trails, as we do, and you're in the area, we can highly recommend the Panhandle and Montour rail trails. Be sure to check them out.